The new Pixel 8 Pro looks very impressive, but can it compete with the iPhone 15 Pro Max? Well, today we're gonna compare everything that's not on the spec sheet, like the quality of the displays, speakers, overheating, performance, memory speed, real-world cameras, and more. Now, I've been a fan of the Pixel lineup for a long time. I actually owned the first Pixel phone, which wasn't even called Pixel way back in the day, but they've always had a lot of trade-offs. This year, Google seems to have really stepped it up. Now you guys see we have the Obsidian black color, and it definitely looks nice. And that camera bump is the same size as before, but we now have this unibrow that is huge. And Vadim, do you see the lens in that thing?
Dude, it's massive.
That thing is massive. The camera upgrades are huge on this thing. Let's look at both side by side. I mean, the iPhone has a huge camera bump, but this Pixel makes the iPhone look small. Now, holding it in the hand, it does feel very comfortable. And what's interesting is that the Pixel 8 Pro actually weighs less than the 15 Pro Max, even though the iPhone's made out of titanium. But when I'm holding him in the hand, because of the top-heavy Pixel design, it actually feels heavier. The width is about the same, but the Pixel is taller overall, even though they both have 6.7-inch displays. And this year, the iPhone also has a USB Type-C port, and both of them have the same speeds. And as far as charging, they're also very similar, but the Pixel has a larger battery, so charging times will be roughly the same. And as far as battery life, we know that with iOS, the iPhones are so well optimized that it will do better in the real world. And now I have both these set up, and you guys can see that the bezels are thinner on the iPhone, helping to make it smaller, but I'm glad that the Pixel has uniform bezels all around. Now, the lock screens look really nice on both, but when you turn off the displays, the always-on display on the Pixel is similar to most Androids, where you just have some text compared to full color and wallpaper on the iPhone. Now, our iPhone has that dynamic island where we have Face ID for very secure face unlock, and this year, Google said that their face unlock is secure. So if I go ahead and tap the screen there, you guys see that we got a little circle around the camera. In setting it up, they wanted a bunch of angles on my face, but it's still a single photo. Now, of course, we have the fingerprint unlock that works nice and quickly, so you have both options, but of course, Face ID is very convenient while being very secure. Now, what is crazy is that the Pixel goes up to 2400 nits on its display, but we're gonna test it out in the real world. But before that, I've gotta show you guys the coolest power bank I have ever seen, the SharkGeek 170 from our sponsor Charge, with an iconic transparent prism silhouette design and a huge 24,000 milliamp hour of battery power, which is just below the limit to be airline safe. It puts out an insane 170 watts of power, which is enough to fast charge 3 devices at once with its 3 ports, or you can go all out and fast charge your iPhone 15 Pro while also fast charging your 16-inch MacBook Pro at 140 watts. But my favorite part is that it's IP4 water resistant, and it comes with a smart display which shows you the wattage info and the remaining battery life, while also accepting 140 watts input power for recharging. And you can order one today using the link down in the description below. Getting back to displays, one of the things that sucked about Pixel is that the screens were not as bright as iPhones or Samsung. So right here, I'm gonna max out my brightness on both of them. And then looking at this mostly white page, to me, they look fairly similar. Now, that is not a bad thing, but then we went outside and saw that the iPhone was still brighter. Now, when you switch to dark theme with a mostly black display, it gets closer, but the highlights on the iPhone are still brighter, and even in our studio lighting right next to the bright light, the iPhone is still brighter. So I'm really not sure what to say about that 2400 nits compared to 2000, maybe only under the most extreme bright sunlight will it get up there if there's not much white on your screen. Now, looking at HDR video, the iPhone still seems to be brighter, especially if there's a lot of bright areas. And if you're watching a scene that has a lot of darkness, that's when a Pixel gets close, but still slightly dimmer than the iPhone. And I think it might just be tuning in terms of saving battery life or things like that, whereas iPhone gives you just a little bit more. Now, with that said, this is still the closest the Pixel has ever gotten one by far, so the display is a nice upgrade for Pixel owners. Now, apart from that, displays are similar. You have slightly more pixels on the Pixel, but you can't really tell just looking at it, and both of them have up to 120 Hertz going all the way down to 1 Hertz. Now, another area where the Pixel has been behind for years is the speakers, and the iPhone got an amazing update this year, so let's go ahead and see if the Pixel can keep up. You guys let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Now, in my opinion, one thing that might not come through YouTube is the Pixel sounds kind of unbalanced. I'm getting a lot more sound from the bottom speaker than the earpiece, even though the slot on the earpiece is much larger than the one on the iPhone. The iPhone is louder, it's more balanced, and it has a bit more bass. So while this is a good upgrade compared to last year, it still doesn't compete. And now I wanna just take a second and talk about pricing because we have a difference. Google did make the Pixel 8 Pro $100 more than the Pixel 7 Pro, so it's $1,000 now. But Apple did the same. We have $1,200, so we have a $200 difference. Now, as far as storage, and we'll test out the speeds, we do have a difference, 128 gig at the base compared to 256, but the nice thing is for only $59, you can jump up to 256, and then both can hit a terabyte, and you'll save another $200 on the Pixel, so it is a better value. And now let's get into performance, and we are gonna start out with storage speed. I'm gonna run both of these, and I do wanna mention that this is the 128 gig base version of the Pixel. So if we take a look at the speeds, the iPhone does win out. The read speed is nice and fast on the Pixel, but the write is fairly slow. Now, if you do spend $59 extra to get 256, the write speed will come up, but typically the read speed won't, so it still won't be as fast, but I think that is a great use of money. Now, the Pixel does come with 12 gigs of RAM compared to 8, but unfortunately, Geekbench 6 is not running on this new Pixel with the Tensor G3. The same thing with 3D Mark Wildlife and Tutu and a bunch of performance apps. Now, thankfully, I did find some benchmarks that will work, so we're running PassMark right now. Here are the full results, and as far as single thread, we have 3,642 compared to 4,565. That is a difference of 50%, and as far as floating point math, we have 18,000 compared to 29,000, a difference of 60%, and then overall here, we have a difference of about 30%. And then looking at the memory speed, the iPhone crushes the Pixel as well, being 2.5 times faster at that. Now, of course, this is not an app we typically use, but we needed to find something to show you guys. And we know that the new A17 Pro with 3nm is a lot more powerful than Google's Tensor G3. And now let's run the Speedometer 2.0 web browsing test, which does a bunch of different tests to see just how fluid and fast your experience is. This also applies to web-based applications. You guys see we have 465 on the iPhone. It did the test more than twice as fast. And we have a score of 132 on the Pixel using optimized Google Chrome. That is over 3 times faster. And it just shows that the A17 is a crazy chip. And even though the Tensor G3 is an improvement, it's not huge. And now let's go ahead and take a look at graphics performance. This is the BaseMark GPU test off screen. Now, I ended up having to do a custom test just to make sure the settings align. And if we look at the overall score, we have a difference of 40%. But one thing that came up is that the iPhone's actually limited the maximum FPS because of the 120 Hz screen. So if we look at the minimum FPS here, that is a difference of 60%. Now, I really wish we can run 3D Mark's Wildlife Extreme, but overall we know that if you're buying a Pixel, you're not buying it for maximum performance. There's a lot of Android phones out there that are a lot more powerful. And I'm running this test back to back. The iPhone's already done it once before. You guys could see just how quickly it moves. I'm gonna run this for about 5 minutes, which is enough to get the iPhone to really throttle down, and we'll see what we get as far as thermals. All right, so it's been over 5 minutes, and looking at the backs of the phone, you guys could see that the iPhone has a ton of heat on one section right there, 37 degrees Celsius. The Pixel, 36 at the peak, so not far off, but the heat is spreading out much more evenly on the Pixel. compared to the iPhone where it's right there next to the chip, which of course isn't great for performance. Even though it performs a lot better, it will throttle more. Now, you can help that with one of these coolers. This one is the Razer one, and it is magnetic with MagSafe. So that is really nice, and we actually did a video testing it out. If you guys wanna check that out, you can, or we'll leave a link to this down in the description below. It is really cool, especially if you just power it from your iPhone. And now it's time to compare the cameras. The Pixel got a major upgrade this year. All of the sensors on the back are close to 50 megapixels compared to only the main camera on the iPhone. Now for the selfie camera, we have 10.5 megapixels compared to 12. Let's take a closer look at how this compares. But first, I wanna let you guys know that we are gonna do another blind camera comparison. I'm gonna bring some people in just like last time, and it was so fun to see their professional opinion. So make sure you guys are subscribed for that. But zooming into this selfie, both of them look really good. I mean, the colors are definitely different as far as detail. I don't really know. We have more contrast on this one. You guys let me know which one looks better to you. Now, Google has made some software changes as well, but as you can see in portrait mode, you still cannot take a wide portrait like you can on the iPhone. Now, looking at this 2x comparison to make it fair, here I would say that I like the Pixel shot better, even though some of the details are crushed. It looks more natural with a little bit more detail, which is nice. Now, even though both these have 5x telephoto lenses, you cannot take a 5x portrait with the Pixel, whereas on the iPhone, we have that nice compression, less stuff in the background. And then if you wanna take a close-up portrait like this, you see a lot of warping on the Pixel because it's that main lens compared to the 5x on the iPhone, which I say looks way better. You let me know your thoughts. Now, getting into some regular photos, both of these are a standard shot. And you see we have a difference in white balance. The Pixel is a lot more dramatic. And then if I go ahead and zoom in, well, I can zoom in way more on the iPhone than the Pixel, and looking at it, the quality is a lot better because it's a 24 megapixel image, not a 12. Now, thankfully, with the Pixel 8, Google finally allows you to take a 50 megapixel image instead of being stuck to 12. So that's what this is. The HDR does look better on the iPhone, but let's go ahead and take a look at fine detail now that we can actually take 50 megapixel images. And here, I would say the Pixel looks better. I mean, we have some compression artifacts around, but the iPhone has artifacting on the actual sign itself. Now, another thing I noticed, when you're taking these high-res images on the Pixel, it does something kind of like night mode where it asks you to hold it still, which helps it to stack more images, and that is really cool. And now for both 5x lenses, here's the shot. You guys can see the Pixel is more zoomed in. It's a 30x compared to a maximum of 25 on the iPhone. And looking at them with a similar size, I would say the Pixels looks better. Once again, that stacking, and it is a 48 megapixel 5x compared to a 12 megapixel. And in this super distant shot, the results are interesting because the Pixel has more detail in this actual house, less artifacting. But then if you look at the rest of the image, like the cliff and the trees, well, the iPhone looks like it has a little bit more detail. Let me know what you think. And lastly, we have this ultra wide. The iPhone, once again, is only a 12 megapixel compared to 48 on the Pixel right here. And looking at this image, it is clear that the Pixel has more detail, at least in the high res mode. The trees look so much more detailed. And it's interesting because this iPhone just came out, it was impressive, but the Pixel seems to be doing a better job. And now let's answer the original question. Can the Pixel 8 Pro stack up to the 15 Pro Max? Well, as you saw in most categories, it cannot. The iPhone is the flagship, but in certain cases, like the cameras, it definitely does a great job. So if you really care about photos and you just want a great Android experience with 7 years of support now from Google, which is great, the Pixel is a nice phone. But if you're looking for a more well-rounded device that is great in all areas, I would say the iPhone is better. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Click that circle above to subscribe and check out one of those great videos right over there. This has been Max, and I'll see you in the next one.